First of all, I would like to make some correction. It is not Iran which is prepared to launch an attack against the United States. It is gross exaggeration by American spy agency. It is aimed at creation absolutely negative image of Iran in the American population, in the international public opinion, and it is a preparation for something serious in case decision is taken by American administration. Some people say Obama, because of his weak positions in the election campaign, might take the decision to have an operation against Iran. Whether it is a long-range operation or it is a shortcut attack, nobody knows. But the fact that American responsible people, especially from the spy agents, are playing with the idea that it is Iran which is preparing terrorist acts on the territory of the United States, it is really mystification. It is a misleading thing in order to cover the real story behind the whole thing, the real story behind American preparations in the Gulf. We know that in the Gulf there are two flat tops surrounded by several dozen of American ships. And now, yesterday, I think, or the day before yesterday, the nuclear submarine Annapolis, which is a very big one, and some of the corvettes, some of the advanced corvettes entered the area. Of course, there is a principle of rotation in the American system. But nevertheless, the amount of naval force they keep there is really spectacular. And it makes me personally to believe that they are preparing something. So, now coming to Iran. Iran, of course, has certain assets, and these assets are connected with certain political movements and political organizations who attack in retaliation the Americans and Israeli targets. But I don't think Iran is initially aiming at attacking the United States. It's not in its interest. Secondly, the problem is we are watching final acts of Syrian drama. The initial attack on Syria didn't succeed. They are trying to undermine Syria, and they are trying to deprive Syria of allies and some countries who could support her. Among these countries are Iran, Lebanon, and the Hezbollah movement in Lebanon, and some other countries who are prepared to give political support to Syria to survive the brazen attack on Syrian sovereignty. So Iran is a key. It is a linchpin of the security situation in the Gulf as far as anti-American forces are concerned. So maybe because of that, the Americans have decided to take some sort of action to undermine Iran. Meanwhile, there is long-going negotiations to arrange six-party meeting in Europe between Iran and 5 other countries who are willing to discuss the Iranian atomic program. And as far as I understand, Iranians are quite eager to discuss many elements of their program. They are suffering from all kinds of sanctions and are not interested in this kind of thing. And I believe that if Americans are very desperate, then they can act before this meeting takes place. If Americans can wait a little bit, they are not so desperate, they would allow this meeting to take place. And they would try to convert this meeting into a form of some sort of example of Iran being belligerent, being non-cooperative, and only after this they would try to attract public opinion in Europe and other countries to their cause as far as military action against Iran is concerned. So, in general, what we have now in the Gulf is a very dangerous, explosive situation which can blow up any given moment, and much would depend on the political will of the participants. If the Americans, which are pushed forward by Israelis, are in the mood to decide in favor of military action, actually there is nothing to block them. they would take this. The force they have collected in the Persian Gulf and in the Indian Ocean is huge and formidable. If political will is not there, then we would see the final result of this drama sometime later, closer to the American election, end of the American election campaign, on the part of Iran. Of course, Iran is also entering parliamentary elections and presidential campaign, so they have their own modalities which dictate their behavior. But in general, I don't think that Iran is the initiator of the conflict. It simply shows the Americans that Iran has some assets and they can use them in order to make life for Americans and their allies painful. And now the biggest role is for Russia and China, because these two countries, which have very balanced policy in the crisis, they have to work actively and they have to prevent the extreme developments. That's how I see the situation. And I'm not surprised by the statements of American spy agencies, American military agencies. They have their own plan of pressuring Iran into submission. And they are going to follow this plan, whatever the development of political situation in the area is concerned.